The mission of Pledge 1% is to inspire, educate, and empower every company to leverage its own unique assets to be a force for good. And one of the best ways to introduce everybody to the benefits of joining Pledge 1% is to hear from other member companies who have taken the pledge. So today I'm excited to welcome our guest speaker, Emily White, who is the Senior Director of Philanthropy at Salesforce. With more than 20 years of experience in the social impact space, Emily is passionate about advancing sustainable partnerships that drive meaningful change. And before becoming the Senior Director of Philanthropy at Salesforce, Emily held leadership roles in the corporate and nonprofit sectors, in addition to serving as a small business development volunteer with the Peace Corps in Nicaragua. We're just talking about that. And throughout her career, she's created award-winning projects that deliver real results by rolling up her sleeves and partnering directly with the communities she serves. So welcome, Emily, and thank you so much for joining us today. We know that Salesforce has a long history of commitment to social impact and social responsibility, but let's hear from you. What can you highlight, that continues to drive this commitment?
Thank you, Alicia. And just thanks for the chance to be here. I'm super excited to be a part of this today. Any chance I get to talk about Pledge 1%, I'm happy to do it. So at Salesforce, you can see this quote on the slide here. It's, we believe that together with our community, that business can be one of the greatest platforms for change. And this is not just, pretty words on a slide. It really is the principle that drives everything that we do here at Salesforce, from our giving back to our sustainability initiatives, to how we hire, to how we think about engaging with the community around us. It really is sort of who we are as a company. And it makes Salesforce feel like a really different kind of company. Our founders created the 1-1-1 model. So we committed from the beginning 1% of our equity, 1% of our technology, and 1% of our employees' time back to the community to help build a more equitable and sustainable world. And 25 years ago, that was like a pretty big idea. And it led to, as Alicia said, the founding of Pledge 1%. And it's now inspired over 19,000 companies to come along on this journey. And it's what inspired me to come along on the journey to Salesforce. As you mentioned, I've got a long history in the nonprofit space, but when I was ready to make the shift to corporate social impact, Salesforce was top of the list for me, because it was clear that this was a company that had really baked this concept of integrated philanthropy into the DNA of the organization. And it really lived those values every single day. So it was something really exciting to be a part of. I'll talk to you a little bit about, on the next slide, sort of what it looks like in practice for us. So education has really been sort of our bread and butter focus area. That's what we started focusing on over 25 years ago. And we've been a champion of education through sort of all of the levers that we're able to pull as a company, through our philanthropic giving, through our employee volunteerism, through deep partnerships with the schools around us, as well as some of the nonprofits that are supporting those educators. And the idea is really just sort of access to quality learning opportunities for everybody. Simple idea. But as AI is transforming the world of work, we're really thinking a lot now about how do we ensure that students have the access to the cutting edge technology, and that teachers are trained in how to use it and appreciate it and incorporate it into the classroom in the right ways. And just generally how to prepare everyone for success in this world that's going to be driven by AI innovation. So we have now Agentforce, which is our AI-driven technology, which is helping us help schools and nonprofits advance even further with the technology. So we're teaching them how to use it. We're also sort of giving them the technology to scale their own impact. And one of the ways that we're doing that is through our Salesforce Accelerator program, which I'll talk a bit about. We're really focusing on sort of bridging the AI access gap and helping nonprofits build that capacity. So we mentioned here on the slide the College Possible. It's one great example of a fabulous organization that had a really big sort of scale challenge in front of them. They're an organization that helps students with college coaching and sort of helping low-income students learn how to get into college. And here in California, there's one college counselor for every 400 students. There's really no way to help bridge that gap. But with an AI agent, they were able to provide access to help those coaches take their talents even further and reach more students. So they're reaching 4 times the number of students they were able to without the agent, and ensuring that young people are able to access that quality education. So it's a really exciting opportunity for them. On the sustainability front, we invest in nature and sustainability because we know that the long-term success of our business depends not just on our, shareholders and our customers, but on all of our stakeholders, which we count as the environment, our communities, future generations. So environmental and economic risks are really just business risks. So we think of it, we think of sustainability as a strategic driver of business resilience. And it's what's helping us sort of catalyze our own innovation and growth. So what we focus on is, first and foremost, sort of being a sustainable company, but then sharing our tools outwards to help other companies do the same. So some of our recent programs that I highlighted here is what I love is this collaboration with Hugging Face and Carnegie Mellon and a few other partners. We've recently launched the AI Energy Score, which is a way of measuring our own, or measuring the AI sustainability of every AI, sorry, the sustainability of every AI model. And we were at Salesforce, we were the first to put out our own score, not because we came in as the best, but because we really believe in transparency, really helping drive innovation in the industry as a whole. So every model out there is now able to talk about how their AI, how much emissions they use and what they're doing to reduce them. So it's just a really great way to encourage folks to bring those emissions down in a really sort of public, transparent way, which is really fun. We are also partnered with the World Economic Forum to host a program called Uplink. This is all about helping to seed ecopreneurs. So these are entrepreneurs in the environmental space, and it's really sort of looking at all of those innovations in the environmental space and how we can support their success through seed funding and helping to get them visibility in front of other funders as well. And then moving on to the next one, it's just, those are a few examples of the work that we do, but overall, I mean, this is one of my favorite slides because, as Alicia said before, it was really easy at the beginning for Mark Benioff, our CEO, to make this commitment of 1% of equity, time, and product when there was very little to give. But when you do it at the front end, look what happens 25 years later. I mean, we're about to hit 800 million in all-time giving on our path to $1 billion. This year, we're going to hit the 10 million volunteer hours mark, and that's going to be a huge celebration, which we're really excited about. Our employees are passionate about giving back, and it's a big reason that they are here at Salesforce because we give them 7 paid days off to do it, as well as $10,000 in matching gift benefits so that they can financially support the causes that they care about as well. And then we've got more than 60,000 nonprofits and higher ed institutions that are powering their work on our platform. So everybody is eligible for 10 free licenses. And then beyond that, there's really deep discounts for any other technology. So it's exponential when you start bringing the technology into the picture. To me, of all the ones, this is the 1% that really does the most to drive impact. There's also a sort of a hidden 1%. We have a Salesforce tower here in San Francisco, and we have towers like that all over the world. And that very top floor, in most companies, that would be the CEO's office. At Salesforce, that is our community space that we offer to nonprofits to use for fundraisers and events. So it's not something that we necessarily put on this slide, but it's, if you've ever been in the nonprofit sector, that space is at a premium, and having that opportunity to bring nonprofits into our offices is actually really exciting and fun for us as well, and just another way that we can support them. So those are some of the ways that we focus. And then our most recent program, our Salesforce Accelerator program, is really exciting because it brings all of those ones together. So This is a program where we support nonprofits with funding and pro bono volunteers and free product to help stand up their own agent to advance their mission. So what this means over the past, it's been about 2 years that we've run this program. We've been able to deliver $10 million to 34 different nonprofits. So each one of them are receiving somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 each. They are also receiving a team of pro bono volunteers that help them stand up some technology to build out their agent idea. In this year alone, it's about $1 million in pro bono value. And then the product itself, of course, is what we call Agentforce. It's our technology to help build out AI agentic solutions. And they get a 2-year contract of that free technology to help them innovate and sort of test out the ideas and prove the ROI for their own organization. It's been really exciting. And I think of all the ones, I personally was surprised that it was the pro bono volunteers that a lot of the nonprofits are most excited about, because you don't often get, your own solution engineer and technical architect and program manager to help sort of hold your hand along the way to build out new technology. And look, it's new for all of us. So we are all learning. The pro bono volunteers themselves are really excited to do it because they get value in being able to go deeper with our technology in addition to helping our communities. And it was actually, of all the pro bono volunteers, it's the program manager that the organizations are most excited about. So having someone that really just like keeps the trains running on the track and makes sure that everyone hits their program milestones. So it's been a really interesting learning experience. And one of the examples that came out of this program that I love a lot is Good 360. They're a nonprofit organization that takes donated goods and delivers them to communities that have been affected by disasters. Well, they have a team of 5 that are focused on doing this matching of goods and needs. And they brought in and built out an AI agent to do that resource matching for them, saving that team of 5 1,000 hours every year, which means that they can redeploy their time on the more high touch, high need areas of sort of building those relationships, which is amazing. The agent meant that they can get the goods out 3 times faster to the communities in need, which is critical. And a piece that I really love is that it's also reduced their emissions by 20% because they were able to make matches that were sort of logistically simpler and sort of took emissions into account all along the way. So it's really like a triple bottom line for them that they're seeing in their ROI, which is really exciting.
Thanks, Emily. That's an
Yeah.
incredible amount of impact. I feel like the list could go on and on about how much you guys are doing. So thank you so much. I love that Good 360 story. It's incredible how much more efficient they can be in sort of getting relief and supplies out to customers. It's a perfect example of kind of the best parts of AI. So thank you for sharing that. I also love the AI energy score. Whenever I ask ChatGPT a really dumb question, I feel like I can't drink water. Like I feel like I have to like not drink 2 cups of water just to make sure that I'm not impacting the planet. But it's good to understand, right, the impact of technology on the environment. So I love both of those programs, but just incredible amount of impact that you and your teams have been able to have. Becca, I want to give you a chance to ask Emily some questions, but I'm going to go through just a little bit more about Pledge 1%, and then we'll have some questions at the end if that's all right. Thumbs up, sounds good. So, I want to talk a little bit about our 4 pledge types here at Pledge 1%. We have equity as a pledge type, which is 1% of company shares. Product, which is 1% of company product or product line, which Emily mentioned, Salesforce product and the millions of dollars that they've given back in product. Profit, giving back 1% of company profit or revenue. Again, you could also do that specific to a product line to be donated to a cause or causes of your choice. And time, which is 1% of staff time or employee volunteering. I think, Becca, you're probably already familiar with all of these pledge types, given your experience. Most of our members start small with one or two pledge types and expand as they are able to. Our Pledge 1% framework is actually flexible. It allows you to design a giving back program that works best for your employees and your business. So you give what makes sense for your business. Some people give less than 1%. Some people give way more than 1%. I know at Salesforce, we were often giving more than 1%. There's no fees or reporting requirements to be part of Pledge 1%. So again, we are an empowering organization. We're not a certifying organization. We want to make sure that you have all the tools you need to embed impact into your companies and your employees from the start. Again, we're not here to slap your hand. We're here to inspire and empower you to make and sustain a commitment to giving back. And if you take the pledge, you're in good company. As Emily mentioned, we have more than 19,000 members in more than 130 countries, including some of the most well-known brands out there, folks like Canva, Unity, Atlassian, and many, many others. So it's really easy to get started. We have a very simple pledge process here. You can identify who in your organization is going to be driving the pledge initiatives, and then have your founder, CEO, or their representative register your pledge online. Michelle, if you wouldn't mind throwing the link in the chat, although I don't know that it's necessary today, but we'll throw it in there anyway. And then you can join one of our onboarding calls and meet the community team. And then once you become a member, you'll have access to the resources, expertise, and support as you put your pledge into action. So again, making that pledge is sort of the initial first commitment. And then we have resources for you to really help you sustain and enable that pledge. This year, Pledge is celebrating our 10th anniversary, so it's a great time to join our movement and be part of our next 10 years. So, Emily, as we look into the future, I'm curious to know kind of what can companies do to have a positive social impact in the next 10 years?
It's a great question. I mean, I think right now, one thing that's really important is just staying true to your values and true to your core as a company. Thinking about what it is you uniquely have to contribute as a company in this moment, and sticking with it. I think there's a lot of shifting tides around the ideas of corporate social responsibility, ESG, DEI. But I think as a company what matters to you and your own stakeholders. So sticking with it, and then going deeper in those areas where you have special expertise, that was our thinking around the accelerator program, is what can we uniquely bring that powers all of our superpowers into one to really scale that impact.
Awesome. So, Becca, I want to give you a chance to ask questions of Emily. Feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and jump in here if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much. Emily, thank you for all the information. This has been really, really wonderful. One question I did have was how you go about what is your approach in terms of figuring out which cause areas to focus on? Because one thing that I find really interesting is, this idea of engaging your employees. They obviously are very passionate about this work as well, and curious if they have any participation in that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And they do. I mean, our employees are giving back to a number of organizations, thousands really. And we do look to see what is important to them. I mean, I think it's a bit of a balance, right? We have sort of our strategic goals as a company, and then we give our employees dollars and volunteer hours to pursue their own causes. And then there's places where those come together. I think the schools in particular are one of those places where everyone aligns. We have a lot of parents in the organization. And in the moment we're in with the AI transformation, I think a lot of people are thinking about what needs to look different about education to make sure that everyone is successful. So those have been some areas where we've sort of connected the dots, and we had a program called Adopt the Schools, where it started at the CEO level, asking each of our sort of senior level SVPs to find a school in their neighborhood and literally just knock on the door and ask the principal, how can we be helpful in a really sort of open-ended way rather than coming in with an idea of what the needs are. And that has just started a lot of different interesting initiatives that our employees have been a part of, as well as our leadership team. And then our philanthropic giving has sort of been the foundation for a lot of that. So yeah, I do think it's great when all of those pieces come together. I will also say we do a lot of community listening when we are sort of refining our strategy, as we do, every year or two. We sort of make sure that what we're focused on is still aligned with the needs of the community. And we've been really grateful that our nonprofit partners and others have been sort of open and transparent to talk about what's going on, where we can lean in more, where we can adjust our grant making policies and processes to make it easier on them to do their jobs better. So yeah, I think I really sort of pride myself and our company on being good listeners.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. Love to hear that two-way conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Becca, if you have any other questions, we're happy to take them. While you're thinking about that, Emily, I'll just ask a little bit just about how you network. So I know that Becca is probably looking to network at this point.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious, just kind of where do you network? Where do you do you have any suggestions for Becca in terms of networking and finding other social impact practitioners in her journey?
I have to say the Pledge 1% community is sort of like my number one network. Where we participate as a builder, which is sort of a group of about 50 companies that are champions of the cause. So we've got that group, but also the portal that Alicia showed that had all of the sort of learning opportunities in there, that represents the power of the network. A lot of different people have come through and provided interesting answers to any question that might be on your mind. So it's a great thing to sort through. Excuse me. But locally, so we don't travel a ton as Salesforce because we are really focused on our emissions and our footprint. But there are a lot of summits that have come to the area this year. So I'm going tomorrow to the World Social World Impact Social. Do you know what it is?
Social Impact World Summit?
Social Impact World Forum, I believe.
Forum, yes.
And then in 2 weeks, we've got the Social Innovation Summit here in San Francisco. And Becca, I also just I go to their websites and for the Social Innovation Summit, it was a pretty hefty price tag to get in. And so I just submitted an idea for a proposal for a presentation so that I'm speaking there, but I'm also getting in for free. So that's just one of the tricks of the trade.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
It is. I do know it can get quite pricey to get into some of those.
Yeah.
I've been to Green Biz a number of times and thankfully was with an organization at the time to get into those. Wonderful. Well, I actually did have one more question. I was just hoping to maybe for both of you to get a sense of what are kind of those challenges that you face when approaching the C-suite level or the decision makers of a company to make a pledge. I'm curious what you're hearing because you're preaching to the choir of seeing the value, of course, and I'm just very curious what you see as kind of the pushback.
Alicia, you want to take it first?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think a lot of the pushback comes along. It depends on the type of company. Some companies have government contracts, for example, and so they want to make sure that they are complying with the laws as they change and evolve over time so that they can maintain those government contracts. And I think that makes them nervous, right? And so there's some changes that maybe happen around language or again, maybe not being as visible around social impact, but the data again is still there that this work is important and valuable to the business. But yeah, some of that pushback is just around, look, we have a duty to our shareholders, right, to keep this business successful. And so you have to kind of approach it by saying, yes, understood. And we're going to find new ways to do this work that won't put that success at risk. So I think that's the challenge right now for a lot of impact practitioners. And, I think sometimes that can feel a little bit like selling out, but you can also see it as an opportunity, right, to really change how we talk about the work. Frankly, some of the messaging I think needs to evolve. Maybe we haven't always done a good job bringing everybody along in terms of the good that we're trying to do in the world. And so I think if you see it as an opportunity, there's potentially some great changes that you can make that can really sustain your programs for a long time in a company. But yeah, we're definitely hearing about the challenges, of the work and the real threats, right, that are there for businesses that have government contracts or that have audiences that might respond, right, to some of this work in a negative way. So I think that's all very real. And I think, a lot of practitioners are frankly exhausted, from having to deal with all of the change and the upheaval that's kind of happened over the last couple of years. That's my perspective. I don't know, Emily, if I'm close there, but you can keep me honest.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely part of what's going on right now. I think also just historically, I think it's been a question of like, why do this now? Especially for early stage companies where they're in the position where it's like, oh, we just need to keep this business afloat, and we're not even making money. Why would we be thinking about giving money away? But I think to the earlier slide where we're starting, the sooner you can start, the better, because it's something that just becomes part of the culture of the organization. And I know Alicia had that stat earlier about it really does attract top talent, because folks now really do want to work for companies that have a social purpose. So I think it's just finding ways to really tap into the business value and make sure that you're sort of meeting the leaders where they are and what their objections are, and making sure that that Pledge 1% feels a part of the business solution, not just we do it because it feels good to do. No, we're doing it because it's the right business move.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Great. That actually, I'm sorry, I said that was my last question, but that led me to another one. I was curious if there is a minimum revenue necessary to join 1%, Pledge 1%.
No, that's the beauty of the program, is it's really sort of available for companies of all sizes. So, you can come in with a revenue of 0, but if you're making the commitment, it means you're committing to making those future contributions, however it works for your company.